Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Happy Tuesday, December 14th. This is our final webinar of the year. Can you believe that? And happy holidays to all of you out there and to your crews. My name is Robbie with PSTrax. I'm joined here with two of my colleagues, Ryan Larson, who will be your presenter today. Ryan Larson is our Chief of Operations here at PSTrax. Also joined by Liz, who's our marketing director at PSTrax as well. Our topic for today's webinar is tracking your narcotics, more specifically DEA Schedule 2, 3, and 4 controlled substances. Just a little bit about the agenda and what you can expect. A healthy chunk of today's webinar is going to be Ryan walking through the demo site. He'll take you through a day in the life of a crew member using PSTrax, and then also look at the administrator's view and ultimately how PSTrax can help you automate your narcotics tracking and streamline communications around that as well. Quick piece of little bit of housekeeping. During the presentation, both Liz and I will be taking questions live, and we encourage your participation along the way, and you're welcome to send questions through the chat function or in the Q&A section as well. Whatever is easiest for you. So Ryan, I'll go ahead and pass it right over to you. Thanks.
Great, thanks Robbie. Good morning everyone. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. As Robbie mentioned, we're gonna walk through controlled substances and talk a little bit about how PSTrax can help track and kind of just keep a record of all those narcotics that you might have in your department right now. So we'll go ahead and hop into it. I will go through just a few slides here, and then most of the time will be spent in our demo site. I'll show you how that module works. Again, today our objective, we'll talk about the different types of controlled substances that you may want to track, and also the different handoffs and the different forms you may be tracking on paper right now, but how we can help electronically maintain those for you and keep a full history of all the different handoffs and the different events that occur with your controlled substances. And a big part of this is it is a DEA requirement to be doing this if you are maintaining or handling controlled substances. And as part of that, one of the reasons that that is a requirement obviously is to try to reduce the incidents of diversions and the possibility of that. So we'll talk a little bit about how the system automates some of those processes to eliminate and reduce diversions. Okay, so from a record keeping perspective, I just mentioned it, but the DEA does require that if you are maintaining or administrating controlled substances, that you keep records of the different handoffs, basically the different movements or the different locations as those vials move around within your agency. So depending on your agency, you may have a similar setup to this or possibly slightly different. There's a lot of different variations across the country that we see. But typically most folks will buy their vials from a vendor or a pharmacy. You may also go to a hospital in some cases, but when you get those vials, they usually go into the department and get stored in a main vault or a central supply. If you're a bigger department, you may even have battalion vaults at certain locations or certain stations. And then obviously, within the vehicles, ambulances, you'll have your drug boxes. So kind of the individual boxes that are storing the narcotics that the crew members are grabbing from to administer from. And then finally, over the course of time, as the medics and the crew members go out on EMS calls and they need to use a vial of fentanyl or whatever it might be, we have our usage and our expiration events as well when we have things that expire. So that's kind of the overall movement from a high level that we typically see with controlled substances within an agency. Now, obviously, within each of those movements, there's paperwork a lot of times that has to be recorded, whether it be a restock event. you might just be doing a basic inventory check of, what do I have right now in this location? You may be doing transfer events. So as you move vials from one location to another, making sure you record that. And these type of events happen all the way through. So you'll have different inventory events, different transfer events. Down at the crew member level, typically when the crews go on or off shift, there's an arriving departing check where the crew members verify what vials they have currently in their drug box. And then finally, as I mentioned, if there's ever a usage event, we want to record that, how the vial was used, what it was used for. And again, this is kind of the standard process that's most common that we see, but there's a lot of variations to this across the country. And I highlighted some of those variances in the upper right here. So you may have, box ownership, meaning that once someone takes control of the box, no one else can log anything on that box until that one person that controls it relinquishes control. You may be doing tag numbers. So if you have different colored tags, or when a box gets opened, if you're breaking the seal and then adding a new seal when it gets used, we can track that as well. So there's a lot of different, as I mentioned, different variances, different concepts that we see. But overall, this is a kind of a high level, what's most common. And at PSTrax, where we come in to help, there's an old principle, the Pareto principle, also referred to as the 80-20 rule. But really, that's what PSTrax, what we're here to help with, is we want to automate as much as we can with basically, as limited work or processes that we can add. We want to streamline things, right? Not make it more complicated. So by implementing the PSTrax controlled substance module, we really look at that as like the 20% of work that you can do to get the 80% results that most people want. And then we have some agencies that want to take it further. So if you want to go beyond just electronic checks, right, you may want to do things like, RFID drug boxes and things like that. You can certainly invest a lot of additional resources if you want to go above and beyond, depending on what the requirements are for your department. But really, PSTrax is it really is the tool that most people start with, and then again, if you want to add on other hardware or other things beyond that to just kind of increase your accountability with controlled substances, you can certainly do that. And this is kind of what the system looks like. So really, we take all the different checks you have, not just controlled substances, but your vehicles, your equipment, your inventory, and we build it all into one place. So it is very crew friendly. When they log in, they can just see exactly what they have due today. That's what the big numbers there represent. So they can just click into the numbers and get started. It is a cloud-based system. So what's nice about that is you can use any device that you'd like. This is obviously a phone, but you can use an iPad, a Toughbook. I'm going to use a computer here today for my demo. But literally any device that you have, you can use. You can also have multiple crew members doing checks at the same time. So less on the controlled substance side, but like on the vehicle checks, a lot of times you might have multiple crew members out doing checks at the same time, and they can each be using a different device and working together on that. You can also track issues. So on the narcotics, as an example, if you have a broken vial, the crew members can set an alert and notify the right people in the department. So when issues do arise, it helps streamline that communication process and just make it more efficient. And finally, very importantly in the controlled substance as it relates to DEA, all of the data is electronic. So you can download it and export it anytime you need it. You can go in and audit all of your drug boxes and see every single handoff and every transaction that's happened for each one. So if there is a DEA audit, you can go in really quickly, download and export all that information. Okay, so we do have 7 modules that are part of the PSTrax system. They are a la carte, so you can add these modules as you go. Today, we're obviously going to focus on the narcotics module. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, the controlled substance module will track all the different handoff events. So everything from your inventory checks, your arriving, departing checks, usage events, transfer events, restock events. So all those different handoffs that occur, it'll log each of those transactions within the history for each vial. And we keep track of that movement, right? Because the vials are moving around. So if you do transfer a vial from your drug vault, maybe over to a med box, we're going to track and maintain that movement, so you can always report on that as well. From a tracking perspective, you can track control numbers if you'd like. We see about 50-50, 50% of departments use control numbers, 50% don't. So we support both methods. We also track the lot numbers and the expiration dates for each vial. So depending on how your agency wants to track things, we'll just configure it that way for you. And then finally, when you complete each event, there is an electronic signature component. So you can have your crew members sign off on the event. And if you want to take it one step further, there's also PIN dual authentication. And basically what that means is before, excuse me, before a crew member can sign for it, they have to enter their secret PIN number, and then that'll open the signature box for them to sign. So just kind of one more layer of security if you'd like to have that. All right, and for those that might not be familiar with PSTrax, we do build the whole system for you. So we are really unique from that perspective. Typically with software, you'll get handed the software, and then it's usually up to the agency or the department to kind of figure it out and build it themselves and get everything loaded. But here at PSTrax, we do things different, and we realize you have a lot of other things on your plate. So we want to help you with that project, and our build team will actually build and configure the entire system for you. So if we are lucky enough to work with you, we basically have a kickoff meeting. We let you know what information we need from you. So basically, how are you tracking your controlled substances today? If you have an Excel sheet or anything like that with the vials you currently have. And all you have to do is email that information over to us in whatever format you have it in. And then from there, our team will manage everything else. So we'll set up the system for you, load in all of your data, configure the whole system based on what narcotics you're tracking, what drug boxes you have, what locations there are, what events you want to track, all those different pieces that go into the puzzle. And then once we have it built, we'll basically come back to you. We do a training session for all of your administrators. If there's any changes or adjustments we need to make, we'll make those and roll out the system to the rest of the crews. Then another unique thing about PSTrax is we provide unlimited ongoing support. So again, a lot of times with software, if you want to make a change, you have to pay an hourly fee or something like that to get it done. But at PSTrax, all of those changes are included in our service. So anytime you need help or more training, or you need to add a drug box or anything like that, you can make those changes yourself, or you can call our team up and we'll help you with those for no additional cost. Okay, well, I think that's it for the slides. I'll go ahead and hop over to the demo, and we'll come back to this slide in a little bit and talk about some of our upcoming events. But Robbie, I'll go ahead and just check in with you really quick. Any questions so far that I can help with before we dive into the system?
Sure, thanks, Ryan. I'll give you a quick moment here to take a break before you hop into the demo system. I don't have anything at this time, and just want to remind our attendees that, as Ryan jumps into the demo site, that this is a good time, to walk through anything in particular you have questions wise, not only about PSTrax and the functionality of how everything works, but, also if there's something you'd like to simulate that's, proprietary to your department, that might be helpful as well. So yeah, Ryan, I'll hand it back to you. Thanks a lot.
Great, thanks, Robbie. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive in here. Again, it is a a cloud-based system. So you can log into your browser. I'm on Google Chrome right now. But you can use any device and log in here from our login page. Once you do log in, it's going to default you to your home station. So I have my profile set up so my home station is station 1. Obviously, if you're at a different station or a different location, maybe you're filling in for someone else, you can always change your view and look at a different station if you need to. But I'm just going to stick on station 1 here for today. And this is kind of the home page or the dashboard, home dashboard for station 1. And there's 3 sections. The schedule on the left will show you all of our different modules. And essentially anywhere there's a number represents something that's due for the crews to complete. Here in the middle is any open alerts. And I'll show you this in a little bit, but if there is an issue, the crew members can set an alert, and that'll be emailed and texted to the right people within your organization. But it'll also stay right here on the home page. So any other crew member that logs in to station 1 can see those open alerts. If I click on controlled substances, we can see here I have a few that are currently open as well. So again, it's just a communication, kind of a pass on report, if you will, to the other crew members so they can see what's going on within that station. And then finally, here on the right is the journal. And this is like a digital whiteboard. So any communications like pass on reports, training, things like that, that you want to post for the crews, you can use that for those type of notifications. Okay, now today, obviously, we're going to kind of drill down into controlled substances. And you probably noticed already the big box here at the top. So when the crew members come in, they do have to have the appropriate permission levels to even see this box. So if you have folks in your department that maybe aren't medics and don't handle controlled substances, this box actually just disappears and they won't even see that. But assuming you do have the right permissions, you can click in here. And what I'm going to do first is take you through the life, kind of the day in the life of a medic and how they would use the system. And then we'll dive into some of the administrator functionality. But for a medic, usually the first thing they'll do in the mornings is an arriving departing check. So if someone comes on shift, someone else goes off shift, they're transferring ownership of that box and the controlled substances within it. So for them to complete that, they can just select that event. So we're going to do an arriving check. Select our container, and I'm just going to use our Medic 1 drug box for today. On the next page here, they can input how many vials they currently have within that container, so just the quantities. And if you are using seal tags, there will be an additional field down here below where they can input the seal tag number that they have. Now, once they've done that, here on this page, they're going to see the specifics for each of the vials in that box. So the system already knows, based on the previous events, what vials they should have within that box. And they can verify each vial based on the control number, the lot number. We can also see expiration dates. Anything in orange means that it's going to be expiring within 60 days. So this is just a friendly reminder for the crews that they may want to, use that vial if they go out on a call, use that one first. But we can go through, we'll verify our vials that, yes, these are the correct ones. We have all these. And once we've done that, on the next page, we're going to actually sign off on it. So our vials are all present in this case, and we're going to sign for it. So we have a primary signature, and you can also have a witness signature. So if we want to have, we'll make Liz our witness today. She can be our witness, so she's going to sign it as well. And once we've done that and logged it, it's going to complete that event, and it's going to be documented in the system. So we're always going to have a record of that. Over here on the right-hand side is any recent activity that we've done. And what's nice is we can see our Medic 1 drug box, and here is that event that I just completed. So I can click it if I just want to see kind of at a quick glimpse the details of that record. So here's that full record we just completed, kind of our DEA record. And I'll show you in a little bit, we have a log section that'll show you the full comprehensive tracking of all these records together. But the recent activity will just show you the most recent one. And then the vial inventory, if you want to just quickly see the specific vials I currently have in my box, I can look at that as well. So again, that's usually the first step that the medics will do in the morning. And then during the day, as they get a call, an EMS run, and they go out to help a patient, let's say they need to use a vial, administer a vial, they can select used or transferred out. We're going to select our box again. And I'm just going to administer a vial for this example, but you can also, if you have expired vials, broken vials, or other instances, we track that as well. I'm just going to use a vial of fentanyl for this one, and we'll input our our tag number again. And here, what's really nice is within our box, it's just going to show us the vials of fentanyl that I currently have. So the medic can select the one that they used, and as soon as I select that, you'll notice it pops open. I call it the drug card, which is basically the details for that usage event. And this card here is customizable based on the information that your agency wants to capture. But we'll go through, we'll fill this out here really quick. If you have a EPCR system, you can list the number of your EPCR record just for reference. So we'll get that filled out. Down here below, we'll sign off on it again. So primary, we'll make Robbie the witness for this one. And then we'll complete that event. And again, once we complete that, it's going to be logged in the system. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner again that our recent activity has been updated. So now the last event was our usage event. Again, I can click into that, see the details of that event. Something else you might have noticed is that on our Medic One drug box, our fentanyl are now highlighted in kind of a light orange color. And what that means is that we're actually below our minimum par level for that box. So basically this color here, the shading is just reminding the medics that they need to do a restock event to get back up to their par level. So we'll go ahead and do that next. I'm going to do a transfer, and we're going to select our source. Most people will transfer from their main vault. If you are going to the hospital to get a vial, we can accommodate that setup as well. But for this example, I'm just going to use our main vault. Our destination is going to be our Medic One drug box. And I'm just going to restock one fentanyl. So we're going to pretend we pulled one vial of fentanyl out of the drug vault. I'm going to input our tag number again. And here what we're seeing is our drug vault and all the vials of fentanyl that we currently have in that vault. I have two that are expired, so I don't want to select those two. But all these other ones, I can grab whatever vial I'd like and select that vial. And then down below, we're going to sign off on it one more time. We'll have our witness sign that. And then we'll log that event as well. And once that's complete, we'll see that, again, our recent activity is updated. We just had a transfer. Oh, this is actually the drug vault. So this is showing us for our vault, we had a transfer out, but right down here below in our Medic One drug box, we had the transfer into it. So I can click that and see, here's the record of that event. You also notice that now that orange highlight has gone away because we're back up to 3 vials, which for this box we've set as our minimum par level. So we're back up to par. If I open my vial inventory, we'll see that new vial that I just transferred over. So that's really kind of the day in the life of a medic, how they'll use the system most frequently, the different events that they'd be logging. I should mention that on the admin side, if you'd like to receive an alert notification anytime a vial is used, we can set that up for you, as well as anytime a box goes below a par level, you can be alerted of that as well. Most administrators don't want that for every drug box, just because they don't want their email box getting filled up with all those notifications. But a lot of times they will turn that on for your drug vault or your main central supply. So if you're starting to run low on something at the central supply, you can get an email notification to make you aware of that. Okay, just a couple other kind of features I want to show, switching more into the administrative functions. The first one would be the logs and reports. So I mentioned before, there's kind of a place where we have all the different records that we track, all the different transactions, and that would be the logs here. So essentially, if the DEA comes and they're doing an audit and they say, show me all of your records, this is the page that you would want to hop to, most likely. But you can look at all of your containers, or if I just want to look at a certain container, a certain vault, I can do that as well. You can also narrow it down by a certain check type. So if I just want to see all of our usage events or another event, I can do that as well. But for our example, I'm just going to look at everything. I'm going to select our date range, and we'll just look at the last week. And right down here below, it'll just pull up all those different records for you. And if I scroll down to the very bottom, there we go. These are the three that I just did. So we had a arriving check. That was the first thing we started with. And then we did a usage event where we used a vial of fentanyl. And here's all the information on that. And then finally, we did the transfer event. So on a transfer event, you have two records, right? You have the source and the destination. So our source was our drug vault, and there's the record for that. And then our destination was our drug box, and we have the record for that. For all these records, you can click into each one of them here if you want to see kind of a more detailed view, or print them. But up here at the top, you can export all this information. So if you want to print everything or drop it into an Excel file or a PDF file, you can always do that. So that's a very, very important page, obviously, when it comes to controlled substance tracking, just having all those records available when you need them. The other page I wanted to show is the report is an expiration report. So if you do want to just come in really quick and get kind of a snapshot of what's going to be expiring soon, you can pull that up and it'll show you what's good to go, right? What's in green that's not expired. Anything that's going to be expiring within 60 days will be in orange. And then if you have anything expired currently, it'll be in red. So you can just kind of scroll through, get those counts really easily, kind of a quick glimpse of what's going on for each of those. And you can click in and get the specific vials if you want to drill down a little bit deeper. All right, and finally, the last page here is the vial list. The vial list is essentially all of your vials that are out in the field currently. So it's a very helpful page. You can do a lot of filtering and searching depending on what you're looking for. But if I want to look at a certain type of controlled substance like our fentanyl, I can filter to just look at that. I can see that I have 85 vials of fentanyl across the whole department. If I want to narrow it even further and maybe just look at fentanyl within our drug vault, I can do that. So I have 54 currently within our drug vault. All these columns up here are sortable. So like expiration date, I can sort by that and easily see I have 3 expired vials within our drug vault. And again, all the ones in orange are expiring within 60 days. I'm going to go ahead and reset this so we see everything again. Another useful kind of use case for this page is if you ever have a recall event, and you need to find a particular lot number so that you can remove those vials from the field. You can come in here, search for the lot number. So let's do FL 2100. Looked like there was a few of those. There we go. And it'll just filter that out. So I can see I have, it looks like 5 vials with that lot number. 3 of them are in our battalion vault, and 2 of them, or I'm sorry, one's in our engine 1 drug box, and the last one's in our medic 1 drug box. So on the admin side, that's pretty helpful, because then you can go out to the field, replace those vials with different ones, and not have any issues with those recalled vials being out in the field. And finally, you know, if you ever want the history of any particular vial, you can always click in here to the details. That'll show you the full history of that vial, all the, you know, the breakdown of all the different events from beginning to end for it. Robbie, I'll pause there for a second, see if there's any questions so far. This is kind of what that history looks like, but any questions I can help with, Robbie, at this point?
Sorry, Ryan, I was muted there and chatting with you.
No problem.
No, nothing I couldn't handle on my side during your presentation, but yeah, nothing at this time, Ryan. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Robbie. Well, I think one last thing I wanted to show, and we can wrap up a little bit early, or take some more questions if there's any at the end. I wanted to show on the admin side, how do you load in vials? So if you get a new shipment, or you purchase vials from a vendor, or you get them from a hospital, how do you initially load those vials in so that they're in the system? So let's look at that really quick here. We're going to go do go back to our homepage, our check homepage. And the type of event we're going to select is a restock event. And typically you're going to be restocking to your main vault. Again, if you are a department that maybe, you know, the actual fire truck will drive to the hospital and individually restock a drug box, we can support that as well. It's kind of a different use case. But for today, I'm just going to restock our main vault. So we're going to pretend I maybe ordered a bunch of vials from McKesson, you know, Boundtree, someone like that, and I need to now load those vials in. So when I start this event, it's going to ask us, where did I purchase them from? I'm just going to select vendor. In your setup, we'll actually list out the vendor name. So again, it would say McKesson or Boundtree or whoever you're getting those vials from. And I'm just going to pretend that we purchased 10 vials of fentanyl. And basically what we've done here to make it really easy on the admins is we've created the ability to bulk import. So instead of doing these one by one, you can just say, I have 10 vials. If you are using a control numbers, it'll tell you the last control number that you used. So I can just take that number and increase it by 1 as my starting point. Usually the lot number is always the same for those vials in the shipment. So we're just going to input a lot number. Same thing with the expiration date. Typically that's all the vials will have the same expiration date if they're in the same shipment. And once I continue, what's really nice is I mentioned that bulk kind of creation or bulk import. The system will automatically create all 10 vials for us, and it'll just sequentially number each of the control numbers one by one. So you can see it's just going up one by one for each vial. And the lot number and expiration date, because those typically always stay the same, that's just copied to every vial that we created. If there is a really weird one that you run into, maybe the lot number is a little bit different or the expiration is different, you can customize each individual vial or edit that if you need to. But typically, again, you won't need to do that because it'll always be the same. And then down here below, you would just sign off on that event like we've done before a couple times. You'd have your witness sign it. And then as soon as I do that, it's gonna create all those vials in the system, and we loaded those into our drug vault. So you'll see here in our recent activity, we just did our restock event. Here's those 10 vials that we just loaded in with all the information. And now we have a total of 64 vials is our current count for fentanyl within our drug vault. So that's kind of how you initially load those vials in. And finally, just to go back to the vial list page that I showed you before, we'll now see all those vials on here as well. So if I filter by fentanyl and drug vault, again, we're going to see those same 64 vials that I just pointed out. And the ones that we created will be right in here for us, right up at the top. So yeah, Robbie, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to share in terms of the demo, at least. I'll check in with you one last time, see if there's any questions. If not, I'll hand it back over to you to talk about some of our upcoming events.
Sure, thanks, Ryan. And you know, as you're going through this, Ryan, and you know, I'm thinking just how similar a lot of the controlled substance module works with our inventory module as well. So that kind of leads me into our next webinar, which is our next topical webinar, at least, which is January 18th, about a month from now, into the new year, 2022. And that is when we're going to dive into the PSTrax inventory module, look at how tracking and documenting all of your consumable supplies from EMS supplies, station supplies, and using that module. And again, functionality is pretty similar to the controlled substance module, which Ryan just dove into. And then again, if you're new to PSTrax, you'd like to take a look at some other modules, the webinar we have on January 4th is our overview webinar. It's a great time to take a look at maybe equipment modules, PPE, SCBA, or critical asset tracking. So January 4th, January 18th, next two upcoming webinars. Wow, already 2022. So yeah, again, this kind of closes out everything for the rest of the year for us. And again, kind of let this run here for just a minute. If anyone has any additional questions, Ryan, I'll kind of let you close us out here.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Robbie. Well, just wanted to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. Thanks again for your time today. Just as in regards to the controlled substance module and the pricing on it, you can see here Robbie just launched a poll. If you would like additional information, either pricing or if you'd like to set up kind of a follow-up demo for your team, we'd certainly be happy to do that for you. We typically like to do that actually if you have other stakeholders in your department that would like to see the module or ask questions to kind of get their buy-in and make sure it meets everyone's needs. We'd love to set up another demo for you and your team to do that. Or again, like I said, if you'd like maybe just pricing information, we can certainly send that over as well. For the controlled substance module, we price it based on the number of managed locations that you have. So basically how many drug boxes and how many vaults that you'll be tracking. And there's kind of two components to the pricing. There's an annual fee, which is $200 per year per managed location. And then there's a one-time setup fee, which is the same amount, $200 per managed location. And that one-time setup fee is basically the implementation and the training, all of the initial work for us to kind of build it and get it set up for you and get it rolled out. So that's kind of the pricing summary. But yeah, I think that's all I have, Robbie. Thanks again for setting this up for us, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Always appreciate your heavy lifting on these webinars, and to everyone out there, all of our attendees. I know I speak for all of us at PSTrax that we really appreciate you and everything you have done this year. And I think as a first responder in 2021, you're on the nice list for, well, indefinitely right, after getting through this year. So thank you for everything you're doing
Absolutely.
out there. What was that?
I said, absolutely, they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone, for all
So
that you do.
thanks, everyone. Have a great day.